What if the end of the world saved life? But the impact triggered an immediate, devastating global winter. A most complex ecosystems collapsed under the sudden shadow. But yet, certain plants possessed unseen, patient survival mechanisms. We explore 5 critical strategies plants use to endure. The strategy 1 is the power of deep seed dormancy. These seeds entered a metabolic suspension, waiting out the darkness. Their energy stores were minimal, just enough to sustain fundamental life. This allowed them to avoid the immediate thermal pulse aftermath. And now that we understand dormancy, let's explore deeper roots. Strategy 2, the survival of robust, established root systems. For established perennials, the disaster began beneath the surface. The scorching effects of the impact largely stopped at the soil line. But these underground structures could slowly regenerate above ground later. Strategy 3 involved specialized underground storage organs. But tubers and bulbs hold dense caches of energy reserves. But these organs effectively acted as mini arcs for the parent plant's genetics. Once conditions marginally improved, these organs fueled the first regrowth. The survivors initiated the slow ecological recovery process. And now that we understand storage, let's examine chemical resilience. Strategy 4 involved chemical tolerance to toxic post-impact soil. But certain species evolved mechanisms to sequester or neutralize toxins. This protected the vital metabolic pathways from environmental poison. These chemical adaptations favored hardy, often weedy, pioneer species. They survived the short-term poison long enough to reproduce. This allowed them to claim ecological space others could not. Finally, we examine the airborne strategy, pollen survival. Strategy 5 involved producing highly durable, resistant pollen grains. This outer layer shielded the genetic material from UV radiation. Even brief periods of sunlight allowed these plants to reproduce. The sheer volume of dispersal guaranteed some grains would find safe harbor. But this aerial strategy bypassed the toxic surface conditions below. These 5 pillars, dormancy, deep roots, storage, chemistry, and pollen, were key. They represent extreme evolutionary adaptations to catastrophic pressure. But the plants that survived were not the biggest, but the most prepared. The deep root systems anchored the future ecosystem's foundation. But dormancy bought time for cellular repair mechanisms to reset. The return of photosynthesis was a moment millions of years in the making. But this initial light fueled the slow, arduous climb back to complexity. Without these hidden traits, the floral kingdom would have vanished. The soil itself became a temporary, protective sanctuary. A dispersal strategies ensured genetic material was spread wide. The mature plant sacrifices its present for the seed's future. The paleontological evidence confirms the survival patterns of these resilient groups. A metabolic slowdown is a masterclass in extreme resource management. But even absorbing trace moisture required specialized, tenacious root hairs. The waiting period could span decades, even centuries, for some species. But this profound patience dictated which lineages inherited the post-impact world. The chemical shield wasn't just passive, it was actively maintained. On recovery was not instantaneous, it was a generational relay race. When the signal finally came, the germination response was swift. The survivors formed the genetic bedrock for every forest today. The blueprint for modern botany was forged in that global catastrophe. I respect the resilience hidden in the smallest, most patient structures. But their survival was not luck, it was highly specialized engineering. The world adapted because these plants refused to completely vanish. But each crack signifies the energy expended just to wait. But this ancient strategy remains active in every seed you see today. The power to endure truly rests deep beneath the visible surface. Life persists not by strength alone, but by hidden preparation.